installment in the never-ending nightmare. Now we're in the July 2003 chapter of the never-ending nightmare. More exciting than a soap opera. More cliffhangers than a reality TV show. So, what do we have here? Micah 2-2. CIBC and corrupt BC Supreme Kangaroo Court witches want fields, so these covens steal them. They steal houses, so these covens take them away. CIBC banker and bar member witches cheated me to steal my property. The covens robbed me of my entire inheritance. Micah 2-9. Corrupt, compulsive, lying bankers and BC bar members force women of my peculiar people from their nice homes. Named and shamed covens of criminality acting as public services have no judicial immunity as they had no jurisdiction over a private family trust contract. So I needed to complete some functions today. Not realizing how all of the stress, and it was hotter than I thought outside. And I got lost today, and it was just not a good day. And I was trying to do something today to rectify the very serious situation I find myself in that's been created for me by evildoers. So I needed to be back at my property this evening at 8 o'clock. And because the stress of the day hit me close to that time, and I was unable to go back to secure my property. So, a long time ago, I have figured out, because I have had to figure out, why I don't function the way I should be functioning because of the things that have been done to me. And so it's important for that to be known, because I'm a woman of my word. I do what I say I'm going to do. So I'm dealing with an entire community doing the wrong thing. Those who know about what's happened, who have the capacity to do something about what's happened, are not doing anything, leaving the burden on me and me alone, the victim of the crime, which is insanity. In no sane, healthy, functional society is a victim of crime just completely ignored or continually then assaulted and traumatized again and again and again, because that's what every day of injustice is, another day of the weight of trauma, because without justice there can be no healing. No justice, no peace. Well, how about no justice, no healing? And the healing can't begin until justice has been served. So because I'm dealing with the wicked, and I'm not permitted to associate with the wicked, as it's written in Psalm 1:1, there's a reason for that, for my health, welfare, and my safety. And so tonight, after I had done the running around I needed to do to send out the notifications, I got caught in the heat, I got lost, some other things went down. I come back, with full intention to go out again, because I said that I'm going to. But then just being physically like, there's no way. There's no way I can do it. Because the general symptoms of poisoning are feeling and being sick, stomach pain, weakness, loss of appetite, headache, being irritable, breathing difficulties, or skin rashes, a hard time seeing. Like, this is exactly everything that I experience because of the hatred and racism of the community that I find myself in. Right, so I'll just give an update, I suppose. Let's see here. So, right, so like notifications have gone up on the property, right? You know what I mean? Like I've presented no trespassing notices. Here's one here that I put up on the house. This notification has been seen by those in the community. I identify as a peace officer, because at this point I have to. I'm the only one advocating for justice. Right? Like, do you have any idea what the weight of that would be? To know that you're right and to know that you're the only one who's going to be pushing for the right thing to be done? Well, so what am I dealing with here? Like, what kind of species am I dealing with here? Because it's simplicity. This is how my people know who the children of life are and who the children of, the devil are. It's really this simple. The truth is always elementary. Those who are not going to do what's right, thank you for identifying yourself. And if you can't love your neighbor, well, so right here, what we've got here is, this is the gospel of the kingdom of heaven right here. Right here in this, what I just read to you, that's it. So, if you don't know what right is, and if you can't function in right, there's no way you're ever going to be capable of loving your neighbor. So, you would have absolutely no use at all. You have no use to you if you're not going to do what's right. And if you don't understand what right is, okay, then there's a serious problem. Because right and wrong should be obvious. Right, good and evil should be obvious. It's not rocket science. But I'm gonna record a live post that I have done and then post it as an update, because I have a responsibility, to share my life as a testimony and hopefully as a teaching tool and a comfort to others. Because if you get a whiff of my life, your life is going to look like a day at the park. No joke. Right, so that's what's happening to me right now. Like, I'm in a season of, severe persecution. It's, severe persecution. It's like a pressure cooker. All the hate and all the, just the disrespect and the refusal of acknowledgement of what's been done to destroy. Right, the constant gaslighting, the constant stonewalling. The refusal of doing what's right because it's the right thing to do. right? So it really is like an oyster creating a pearl, right? Like there's a constant grading, and I'm vexed like all of the time. I'm uncomfortable all of the time. And this is a process that happens to the peculiar people. This is how we're made spotless and refined, right? So we understand that. That's why, we don't kill ourselves. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, this is why we have staying power, right? See, but the wicked, like, they're, what are you going to do? Like, it's already done. And they're not going to be capable of understanding. So that's where we don't associate with the wicked. We can't. It's not good for us. It's not good for our health. Right? So, like, I have to, like, take over. Like, I can't trust anybody but me to work justice for myself and my family, because the prosecutor has to have first-hand knowledge of the crime, or you can't be a prosecutor. So you have a completely fictional smoke and mirrors kind of a system going on here in Canada, where victims of crime never receive justice because they are the ones who actually have to work justice for themselves and their families. They have an obligation, duty, and responsibility to do so. Because if you go and tell what happened to you to somebody else, and they then write it down and go tell somebody else, that's called hearsay. Like, you can't have that. That creates injustice. Like, that's why the system doesn't work. And there is no opinion in a functioning courtroom. There's the claimant, the victim, and then you've got your assailant, you're a criminal, and you've got a claim, which absolutely has to be the truth, or you shouldn't be in there, and you better have some proof with you when you do make that claim. And then the assailant, right, the trespasser, then has to follow the law. Like, it's eye for eye, tooth for tooth. It's just that simple. Like, that's what a court is. That's what a functioning court is. You don't have functioning courts here in Canada, because they've been created, by the wicked for the wicked, and the wicked don't have any understanding, so you're never going to get justice in any of these whorehouses. Like, you've got hell's horse sitting on that bench. That's not justice at all, right? Like, and I'm a foreigner. Like, I have proof that I'm a foreigner. So in order for me to access justice for myself and my family, that would be my function. That's my job as a righteous woman. Because then that sets up the stage for other victims of crime. This is why white-collar crime is out of control in Canada. Like, you don't ever go and trust someone else with your job. If you are the victim of a crime, you are responsible to make sure justice is served. That's what a healthy, functioning society does. You have to love your neighbor like you love yourself, and if your neighbor is doing something that they shouldn't be doing, you have to say something. That's the gospel of the kingdom of heaven. That's loving the truth like you love yourself, right? Like your society is completely sick. Like, we're talking like we're done. Then I'll get into that. So, like, for me as a righteous woman who identifies as special prosecutor from a foreign jurisdiction, because I am a foreigner, society has to provide me with opportunity to be made whole. And so this is how I would function in this sick society. I would have to register foreign judgments because I'm a foreigner. And those from not my jurisdiction, like those who aren't my people, like you don't have jurisdiction in my matters. Do you understand me? Like you can't, you can't apply your opinion to the law. Thank you. Okay, I'm a master of the living law. That's my training. That's what I'm ordained to do. And if you've come at me in mine, you've joined yourself to the living law. And I'm not permitted to have an opinion in law. The law and the judgments for trespasses have been provided to me. And they've actually been provided to all of you in society as well. Sits on the witness box of the courtroom there for you. It's not a prop. It's not decoration. So these are notifications that I've placed on the property. This is one from March the 5th that I placed there. Right? Like, fixtures land, right? Because I had referred to fixtures and land in the notification, so then I had to make sure that they understood, right? This is the land, right? It's in trust property. What is Section 42 of the Criminal Code of Canada? Everyone is justified in peaceably entering a dwelling house or real property by day to take possession of it if he or a person under whose authority he acts is lawfully entitled to possession of it. Uh-oh. So I would be then justified in doing what I did today, which was being kind enough to notify them that I have to take possession of the property, because that's my job. That's what I have to do. Right? I'm one of the few with sight in the world. That's why it would be important. And there's no coincidence. Like, if you're listening and you've been listening and you're looking to listen again, there's a reason for that. Yeah, like, I'm here trained to feed the lost sheep of Israel. I'm looking for the peculiar people. I'm looking for my kind. If for whatever reason you're attracted to what you hear here, that is a very good sign. I'm a woman of truth. I'm not going to lie to you, and I'm not going to waste your time. I wouldn't do that to you. Fraud. Fraud's not good, guys, right? From a wrong, no contract can arise. False in one thing, false in all things. It's a fraud to conceal a fraud. Fraud and justice never dwell together. Fraud lies hidden in general expressions. Fraud is most hateful to law. In default of the law, the maxim rules. A mandate of an illegal thing is void. Uh-oh. The golden rule. Oh, heavens no. The golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Oh, heaven help us. Let's hope not, for that's, whoa. Oh no, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. That's exactly what he was saying there. There's my brother. They're preaching the Torah. That's exactly what he just said. He just said eye for eye, tooth for tooth. Stroke for stroke. That's exactly what he said. Yeah, you gotta watch out for the peculiar people. We know what we're talking about. Okay, what do we got here? More fraud. So I tried to explain many times to the persons who were stealing from me that what you're doing is not right and you're committing fraud, and I explained it to them from the beginning that that's what they were doing, that it didn't matter. Right? Like, listen, the rules don't matter when they're coming for you. Do you know what I mean? Like, they don't care. And as I was saying before, like all of the peculiar people have parallel lives. Like what happens to one of us happens to all of us while we're here, which is why, I find such comfort in reading about my people, because that's where I feel at home. I'm, talking about scripture, and so I've had experiences throughout my life where pieces of the puzzle have been provided to me. However, at the time they're provided to me, I don't understand that that's a piece of the puzzle. So these events in my life can seem strange. It may say, so here we're on my Instagram page, and there's some reels here. There's some very interesting information about where I live. And so it's not a nice place where I live. Like the energy here is very oppressive. And so what I know to be true about my father is he sets his brightest lights in the darkest of places. Because what happens when I try to explain that to others of the world, they automatically go to, well, why don't you move, right? Like, why don't you get out of there? Well, I just told you why. That's why. And the war is here, right? This is where the war is, so, you don't run from the war, do you? So, I'm going to go into the live post. And I'm going to be talking about things. And so before we watch that, this is something that I was referring to in the live post. So this is from Jeremiah. This was something that happened to Jeremiah. Cut your hair, throw it away, right? For the king is angry and has forsaken the passing generation. So this is really important information. This is extremely important testimony that I'm providing right at the moment, because, it has to be said that my generation is like, it's been completely rejected. Like it's like there's just no understanding. Like there's no knowledge, and they don't want to understand. And they don't want the knowledge. Like I try. I try. And even like the last upload that I did, I mentioned that Paul's not an apostle. And I mentioned that none of us prophets have ever been sent down here, to be murdered to save the wicked from their sin. And that's because that's a lie. Like that's just not even in the realm of thinking of my father or the peculiar people. So I know, because I mentioned those truths, there was a loss of subscribers, because those kinds of seeds, those types of seeds, they have to fall into good soil, take root and grow. My training is to save souls, right? Like, but it's so important to qualify who you're listening to. Like you have to qualify who you're listening to, because you're feeding yourself by listening to others. You're feeding yourself. It's affecting you on every level when you're listening or watching or involving yourself in the lives of others. Shave your head bald and throw away the hair. Sing a funeral song on top of a barren hill. You people have made me angry, and I have abandoned you. Oh my, cut off your hair and throw it away. Because the king has rejected and abandoned the generation that is subject to his wrath. Mourn, people. Cut off your hair and throw it away. Sing a funeral song on the hilltops, because I, the king, am angry and have rejected my people. Cut off thine hair. Literally, as in 2 Samuel, verse 10, 2 Kings 11:12, thy crown or diadem, but the verb determines the meaning. The Nazirite was to shave his head if he came in contact with a corpse, as cutting the hair close was generally among Semitic races the sign of extremist sorrow. I didn't create this meme. I rolled across this meme years ago, like 5-6 years ago, and when I saw it, I mean, I was like, I looked at it and I'm like, come on, don't, like, can you please just leave me alone? Like, I didn't make this meme. Like, I don't know who did. Well, but right, like, I've been here for 5 decades. Or like, I've got five decades of life experience under my belt. Like, at this point, I know who I am. And it's true. Like, if you go into those scriptures, and if you really understand the life that Jesus led when he was here, it's going to become blatantly obvious why my people are not having constructive conversations with the wicked. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's, like, the arrogant. We're not having constructive conversations with the arrogant or the wicked. It's just not going to happen. We sound crazy to them, okay? The truth sounds crazy to those who are not of the truth, right? Like, I understand that. Listen, I got the ability to put myself into everybody else's shoes. I get everybody else's perspective. I have that ability. I get it. I do. I really do. So, let me explain this. About 20 years ago, I was in the bathroom one morning, and I was just, like, the best way I guess I can explain it is I was spiritually and sort of emotionally unglued, and didn't know why. Like, had no idea why I had these just crazy, like, it was just crazy. Like, I was crazy inside. Like, I didn't know what was going on that morning. I had, beautiful long hair, beautiful long auburn hair, just gorgeous hair. And that morning in the bathroom, I picked up the clipper, I put the guard on, and I literally cut all my hair off and I threw it away. At the time, I had no idea what was going on. September the 6th, 2009. There it is, right? I'm instantly changed. No one is around me. I'm by myself. I feel something. And within 24 hours, I'm telling you, it's like I haven't had a drink of water in like 40 days. I've got this insatiable appetite and thirst for my Bible. Where is it? What's going on? I gotta get it. Where is it? Where are they? I've got them in the house, but I've never actually really had that kind of where is it? I gotta get into it. I gotta read it. But I did after September 6, 2009, and that's when I started to come across, wait a minute here, my life, it parallels these people that I'm reading about in Scripture. When I read that, Jeremiah, it was like, oh my gosh, okay, that's what was going on that morning. It wasn't even me, but I looked like a crazy person. Do you know what I mean? I look like a crazy, but that's an odd thing to do. Because I'm not an unstable woman. Like, please understand that. Like, please know that I'm not an unstable woman at all, okay? Like, I'm good people. I'm a hardworking people. But, like, stuff has happened to me in my life and I couldn't explain it at the time. I mean, now I can, but at the time, like, it didn't make me look good. Right? But this is how I'm qualifying myself. Like I am exactly who I tell you I am. Which is why it's really important to listen and listen to hear. Please listen to hear, because there's no coincidence at why you're listening. You're listening for a reason. You're listening for a reason. It's important to know that. And I appreciate you listening if you are listening and if you've been listening for a while. Right? And my personality type, it's that we gotta know what's going on, like why? And yeah, right, we're not welcome here. We're so not welcome here. Like, I don't like being here, but I'm here, and I know why I'm here. Right, again, like I have A type Rh negative blood. Right. I'm from the Levite tribe, right? The Levites had Rh negative blood. Moses, Jesus, right? John the Baptist, right? If you go into scripture, I'm telling you that you're going to find out their moms are all Levites. The child is the mother, right? And there are no coincidences. I'm sorry, they're not. Like, everything means something. A coincidence means only a connection that's not seen. Roots meet underground, right? Yes, it's true. Like, even my date of arrival, right? Like, so I arrived on June 28th, 1973. Right? So if you take a look at that from a perspective of depth, right? That you know that 6 is the number of man, right? The 28th day, 2 plus 8 is 10, you know. I was born in 1973. 1 plus 9 is 10. 7 plus 3 is 10. I mean, all of these pieces of the puzzle, they all mean something. Right? We recognize our arrival dates, right? That's what we do. We're not of the world. We're not here to learn the ways of the world. We're not here to learn the ways of the heathen. You know what I mean? Right? And I know why the world hates me. I get you. I get it. Like, don't think I don't get it, right? Yeah. So my spouse said something to me one day, and I'll never forget it. And he had taken AJ out, and AJ was riding his bike, and AJ was riding, and my spouse said to him, "Where are you going?" And AJ responds, "Wherever the wind takes me, Papa." And again, I'm reading scripture one day. I get to John 3:8, and I instantly know, as confirmation, right, that I too brought here one of the peculiar people, right? The wind blows wherever it wants. Just as you can hear the wind, but you can't tell where it comes from or where it's going. So you can't explain how people are born of the Spirit, right? Yeah, it's so true. So true. Excuse me, I'm going to try to hold it together. Always try to keep my listener in mind. Always try to keep my listener in mind. We mature more with damage, not age. That would be a true statement. Well, as an INFJ, the good news is I'm pretty much who I say I am. And the bad news is I'm pretty much who I say I am. Yeah. I promise to leave a mark on your life before I leave. Isn't it something that we now have the ability to reach others basically anywhere in the world? Like when I post what I post, anybody from anywhere could end up rolling up on it. And would that be a coincidence? No, it would not. Yeah, well, silently, I'm not really silent about it much anymore, but it's true. It's true. Fucking ridiculous. Yep. Public announcement. Not from here. Not from here. Right, so I just had my 50th on June the 28th. It sort of kind of hit me like a freight train. You know it's coming. You can see it coming, but still, right? It's like, wait a minute here. Yeah, what's the most important thing I did this year? I survived. Because it's not easy. I mean, I'm not going to lie, right? Like, it's not an easy road. Okay, here we go. It's already the 26th of July. Can you believe that? Man, time goes by quickly. Flies, doesn't it? It's about 6:30 in the evening. And I did a live post this afternoon as I was out running around taking care of my business. Unfortunately, that live post, which was proof of me dropping off notifications, will not post to Instagram. So this is a live post to provide update on this saga that continues. The saga that continues. So I'm known as Victoria, and if you haven't met me before, I You know what? I need to do something before we actually go in there and listen to that, which is absolutely imperative because it's going to be like difficult to understand what I'm saying. Okay, so I need you to learn about fraud on the court. So fraud on the court, because I'm going to be explaining fraud on the court in the live post. I need to just give a little bit of background about that just in case those who are listening, maybe don't have the time or what have you to go in and take a look for themselves. So I'll provide the information now this way. So fraud on the court or fraud upon the court refers to a situation in which a material misrepresentation has been made to the court. The term could be used to refer to a situation in which a material misrepresentation has been made by the court itself. Well, that was what happened for me, right? The overall defining requirement is that the impartiality of the court has been disrupted so significantly that it cannot perform its task without bias or prejudice. Well, if you had heard how I was spoken to in there, and because I've presented the truths repeatedly and consistently, I mean, that's exactly what happened, right? They were explaining exactly what was done to me to steal that property and then embezzle the entire inheritance. So submission of fraudulent documents and perjury and false documents made by witnesses, that's exactly what fraud on the court is, and that's exactly what the entire petition to the court is based upon. Fraud on the court is the one of the only remedies in law that does not have a time limit to set aside the judgment that was obtained by the fraud on the court. Therefore, if bribery of a juror or judge is discovered many years after a judgment was declared, that judgment could still be reconsidered and set aside through a fraud on the court claim. Because you realize, right, when something like this happens, these covens of corruption have all sorts of fucking lawsuits of bullshit. They just make shit up. Or they've always got a loophole to get out, like a statute of limitations or some fucking garbage like that. No, I'm sorry, I'm not living in the world of the witch, thanks. Some common examples of fraud on the court include, but are not limited to, judicial fraud. Well, yeah. Well, so in every forced adoption is fraud on the court. Every act of forced adoption is an act of judicial fraud as well. Schemes considered to be unconscionable as they attempt to deceive or make misrepresentations through the court system. Well, yeah, that's exactly what you're doing when you're trafficking children and stealing widows' houses and embezzling her estates. That's exactly what you're doing because your courts aren't meant for that. Or at least they're not supposed to be meant for that, but clearly in Canada here they are, right? What happens to the trial if fraud on the court occurs? Or just what happens if fraud on the court occurs? How about that? That means that any ruling or judgment that the court has issued is rendered void. Well, yeah. No shit, Sherlock. Because you get like lawful and legal, right? Like lawful refers to my people and my culture, of which I will be enjoying here in Canada, because it's my right to enjoy it here in Canada. So saith the International Covenants Conventions Canada is a party to. Right? Legal is for dead things. Legal is for persons. Legal is for corporations. Right? They got nothing to do with each other, or very little. Oh, and then here's me. And then here's me telling the truth to those who don't want to hear it. And what's funny is all that they're doing is written in scripture. All of it. I'm not even kidding you. I wish I could make that up. Everything that they're doing, everything that they've done, everything that they're going to do, it's already recorded in the scriptures. Truth is, bar members live by their foundational rule of no factor of truth shall be tried in our court. You do understand that, right? Like that's not a joke. Like that's exactly how that's legal. Because it's not a lawful court. It's not an actual functioning healthy court. It's a criminal organization. And those are criminals in there. They're not there to tell the truth. They don't care anything about the truth. They don't care about justice. They don't care about making the victim whole. Are you kidding me? That's the last fun. And they're certainly not about making the community safe. Oh, fuck no. That's definitely what. They're not about that at all. No. Yeah. Uh-huh. Okay, so I do a lot of research, right? So the next paragraph. Oh, I'm so sorry I haven't shut the window. No, somebody has a fan belt that they need to have replaced. Okay, truth is all levels of federal and provincial court in the Commonwealth are incompetent, completely corrupt as Scripture, the only true court of record, prophesies. My household are witnesses against bar members we have been unfortunate enough to come into contact with or have been attacked by as Commonwealth bar members are liars. Canadian Bar Association, right, and there's their website, states, our association represents some 36,000 liars, bankers pretending to be judges, notaries, law teachers, and law students from across Canada. Well, you can't call that law. You can't call those law teachers, and you can't call them law students. They're not. Oh, here we go. We actively engage with the Canadian legal community in matters of common interest and mutual benefit. Oh, there you go. Did you just hear that? Did you just hear what I said? It's all about them. It's all about them. They don't serve the community at all. They don't serve victims of crime. We actively engage with the Canadian legal community in matters of common interest and mutual benefit. Common interest, mutual benefit. Oh, yeah. So then I have to pop in the truth there with the next sentence and meme. The Canadian Bar Association is in truth a coven. Coven, noun. A group or gathering of witches who meet regularly. A secret or close-knit group of associates.
Sorry, that's funny. Well, it's funny because it's true. For those of you who, like, if you don't find the truth funny, well, what do you find funny? The truth is hilarious. Have you heard some of the conversations my brother had with those sewer rats when he was here? Absolute classic. Oh, and then fraud, right? Like, what are you going to do with fraud? In any act by any government official to conceal the fraud becomes an act of fraud. And fraud is inexcusable and unpardonable. Unpardonable? Uh-oh. That's a law maxim? Okay, do you understand that? Do you understand what that means? Unpardonable? That's the equivalent of blasphemy. All right, like blasphemy, Jesus explained that you cannot be forgiven for blasphemy. And when Jesus is explaining that you can't be forgiven for blasphemy, once again, he is teaching out of the Torah. He's teaching out of Numbers 5:6. And Numbers 5:6 says, if you go around hurting your neighbor, if you go around trespassing against your neighbor, yeah, that's blasphemy. Yes, it is. That's why these these arrogant abominations, these educated, elite, arrogant abominations with fucking letters after their name, that's why they take this oath to do no harm. Because I'm fucking telling you right now, okay? There's a level of understanding in this world amongst those of the world. There's a level of understanding. That's why that oath is do no harm. Yeah, do no harm, right? That's the oath they take. Do they follow it? Fuck no. No. But that's what blasphemy is. Blasphemy is causing harm to your neighbor. Yep. Now, think about that for a second. Like, really digest that. Because Jesus is like, yeah, that's blasphemy. Like, that's unforgivable. You can't be forgiven for that, for blasphemy. And isn't it interesting that it's in a freaking law maxim? It's in a fucking law maxim. It's in a law maxim from 1856, which means, and they understood way more than they do now. Quite obviously. Oh yeah, see, fraud and deceit should excuse no man. That's breathtaking, man. That's beautiful. I hadn't seen that before. That was fucking fantastic. Oh. Okay, here's something else you need to understand about real estate and land, because when they put their petition into the court, they were referring to the property as land. They were referring to the property as land because it is land, right? It's gifted land. So my partner, when he created the trust, which is the will, right, he's the grantor. He's the grantor of the land, right? And listen, legal functions the same everywhere, right? Because all practitioners of legal, so all members of the BARF, okay, they all belong to the same British accreditation registry. Like, they all belong to that registration. They all belong to the same registration. All of them do. No matter where they are, they belong to that association. It's legal functions pretty much the same everywhere. Right? Certainly in North America, right? In the Commonwealth, yes. So that's why this is here. That's why this is important information. You cannot buy land. You can't sell land. Land must be granted. That's right. That's why my partner went and created a trust and put the land in the trust and granted it to the beneficiaries, granted it to his spouse. I'm his spouse, as a security, right? That's how you build a legacy. You understand that? That's how you build family wealth, right? Yeah. So this is talking about American citizens, right? Well, I'm not a Canadian citizen. But I mean, this is just going into, you don't buy and sell land. Land has to be granted, right? So they talk about a registration fee and a securing of a land patent that were paid to the Surveyor General. This was not the purchase of land. The land patent speaks plainly to give and grant. To give and grant, right? Exactly, like a trust, like a will, not sell. unto your name and his heirs and assigns forever. To grant is to give freely, not to purchase. That's exactly what my spouse left me. That's what that trust is. Oh, here I go again. Here I'm talking about, well, I'm talking the truth here, right? That's what I do. And you know it's good. You know it's good if I've written it. You know it's going to be full of meat, right? Like, well, because eventually it becomes blatantly obvious, what is going on here. So these are attorney generals, eh? You don't even know how corrupt. Anyway, yeah. If you want to go in, you go, because it's always educational. I'll tell you that. Like, I'm not just wasting people's time posting things, right? There's lives, there's reels on here. No, I'm not. I don't followers, likes, subscribers. Not my game. Sorry, not interested.
Already the 26th of July. Can you believe that? Man, time goes by quickly. Flies, doesn't it? It's about 6:30 in the evening. And I did a live post this afternoon as I was out running around taking care of my business. Unfortunately, that live post, which was proof of me dropping off notifications, will not post to Instagram. So this is a live post to provide update on this saga that continues. The saga that continues. So I'm known as Victoria, and if you haven't met me before, I am one of the peculiar people. I'm going to do everything in my power not to sound crazy, okay? But more than likely I end up talking about things that those listening may not understand. So just know that I'm not a crazy woman, okay? I'm basically being gang stalked to death. If you're looking at my posts on Instagram, I am constantly communicating the truth to the world through those posts. I also have Twitter accounts that I also post the truth on. So there's an active agenda in the community where I live to end my life or to torture me to the point where I want to end my life. Well, that's never going to happen. So if you've been listening to me at all, you know by now that two acts of fraud on the court have resulted in 2 acts of genocide against myself and my family. Mm-hmm. You see this here? Mm-hmm. This is paperwork pertaining to the forced adoption of my real biological property, who was kidnapped when he was 5 years old in 2009. And at 8 years old, he was trafficked by the child traffickers here in Canada, posing as the communist court, the communist kangaroo court. So this is my property. I'm not sure if you can see that. This is my property here. And they're looking to kidnap and torture and abuse highly marketable biological property. And then they sell that property to Canada's protected perverts and pedophiles. Canada's perverts and pedophiles are protected by Section 170 of the Criminal Code of Canada, along with Canada's wholly and completely covenant of corruption, posing as the Attorney Generals. You need to be aware that I'm watching you all, okay? You need to be aware that you're being watched and everything's on the record. Hello, how are you? I'm giving an update. So, fraud on the court has resulted in prophecy in Micah 2:2 coming to life. Coming to life. So Micah 2:2 prophesies that widows have their homes stolen and then the entire inheritance gets embezzled by the criminals. That's what's happened to me. So fraud on the court petition was filed by, Canadian BARF members and their Beast of Belial banker buddies. They started that act of, it's an act of genocide in the fall of 2018. So this has been going on for close to 5 years, where there's an active agenda to end my life with continual acts of fraud on the court. And what's even funnier about what's happening to me is these liars and their handlers then go around and accuse me of being the one who's lying. If you know anything about Satanism, you'll understand that they use the law of reversal at all material times when they're committing their abominable acts. So the only paperwork that anybody ever would need to see pertaining to what I'm about to explain, this here is the original real estate listing of the property that my spouse and I purchased in the winter of 2002. We took possession of this property in the district of Saanich at the end of January 2003. And in January 2016, my spouse created a person. Yes, my spouse created a person to hold all of the property for the beneficiaries. Now, I, being the common law spouse of the man known as Gerald Wayne Jack Daly, I have the same rights as a married woman. So common law spouses in British Columbia in 2013 were given exactly the same rights as married persons. Now, we should all have some kind of an idea of how a will works, right? A will is a trust. A will is a trust. And this trust protects the property from third-party claims. All right, so nobody can come in and make a claim against this person unless they have a contract with this person and the beneficiaries. So my name is on this person. I act as this person. I act as this person. This person gets function because I give it function. Right? This person has the capacity to sue anyone and everyone who causes this person harm. And right now, I've got trespassers on the property because the property's been stolen from me to facilitate Asian money laundering, which is a huge problem in Canada. Yes, and it's all being facilitated by BARF members. Yeah, that's what's happening. So the only paperwork that anybody ever needs to see is this trust, this person, this trust. That's it. That's all you need to see. Anything and every claim made against this property is null and void. So my property was passed off to two Asians who needed to launder $750,000, and after they used the property for a year to do that, they passed it off to their pals. Yes. So this week, what I've done is, because I don't associate with BARF members, I don't associate with the dead, I don't take counsel from the wicked, and only the wicked are called to the BARF. Have you seen my posts on Instagram? Have you seen how many times I've tried to teach the world the truth about who you're dealing with? So BARF members are dead, and they can only deal with the dead. The court is a dead entity, and it can only deal with the dead. I'm not dead. I've never been dead, and I'm never going to be dead. Thank you very much. That's the gospel of the kingdom of heaven, folks. That's what it is. So I've had to try to figure out how it is that these witches have moved into my life, into my family, and stolen every good gift I've ever been given and left me with nothing. No compensation, nothing. Right? Because you have to understand that all forced adoptions are fraud on the court. All of them are fraud on the court. And fraud vitiates all contracts. Canada's number 3 worldwide for trafficking children. You understand how contaminated and corrupt Canada is, don't you? This is the age of information. Nobody should be in the dark about what's going on around you. And that's part of my job. So what I had to do earlier this year, basically it was March, right? And if you understand anything about, well, the world of the witch, which is the legal world, they have all these fucking rules, right? They have all these rules that they use to come and attack you and steal your stuff. But then you can't use their own rules against them to hold them accountable. It's really quite a game that they're playing here. Really quite a game that they're playing. So I've had to go in and learn. Wait a minute here. So I'm owned? My name in all capital letters means that I'm owned? I'm property of? Oh, I don't think so, sweethearts. You know, this is the age of information. Let's not be in the dark about what's going on here. So you have to inform the beasts of Belial with a membership to the BARF that you're not dead and lost at sea, that you are living, and that you will not be governed by these covens of corruption. So it was basically 4 pages long, and I posted it on one of my Instagram posts. It's a notice of understanding and intent and claim of right. Now on the last page of this contract, because it's a contract, so what I've done with this 4 pages is I've quashed all assumptions and presumptions of anything, right? Because that's what you're dealing with when you go into the court. You're dealing with things that look like people, but they're not. I've had to inform these things, right, that I'm a living woman. I'm not your property. I'm not a commercial transmitting utility. And if you're coming at me, you're going to deal with me, because I don't take counsel from BARF members. Thanks. And neither should you. The only reason why you're going to need to hire a BARF member is because you're an incompetent, incapable, or you're guilty, and then you need a liar to go and lie for you. That's the only reason why you would need to hire a BARF member. All right, so on the last page here, I'm letting them know, right? Because I've presented the truth to them repeatedly for years. Like, it's not like I was in the dark about them coming to steal my home and then embezzle the entire inheritance in another attempt to end my life, right? And I know why they're doing this. Hey, children of the devil, you only need one paintbrush because they're all the same color. Children of the devil are blind and deaf. Children of the devil are incapable of telling the truth. Children of the devil know absolutely fuck all about law or justice, and yet they're the ones sitting in that whorehouse at 850 Burnett Avenue committing atrocious, abominable acts all day, every day, and they actually believe that they're above the law. They're not. They're not. You know how many BARF members in BC know what's happened to me here? And you know how many of them have lifted a finger to do anything about it? Not one of them. That was prophesied by Jesus when he was here. He prophesied that these fucking satanic savages would sit by, they would load people up with fucking satanic shit, and then not lift a finger to do anything to lift that satanic shit off the people that they're trying to destroy. Anyway, I've had to become an expert on wills and estates and contract law and law and equity and legal maxims and basically the living law, right? The common law. The common law sits on every single witness box of every single courtroom in the Commonwealth. It sits right there, and it is the law. It is the law. It applies to everyone, both righteous and wicked. So proof beyond reasonable doubt, security interest, real estate, right? The land. The land that they stole from me. Parcel identifier, Lot 2, Section 82, Victoria District Plan, 25077 is owned. It's owned by this person, man. It's owned by this person right here. This person I control. This person I give function because a man created this person, and a man dictates what this person does. I mean, are you serious, all you fucking assholes in Kamloops there at Fulton Company and the fucking coven of corruption here, Cox, Taylor, and Victoria? You ain't playing stupid, and you ain't gonna fucking pretend like you didn't know what that meant. You did. That's why you covered it up when you put your fucking fraudulousness, fraud on the court petition in. When you filed it, you knew what you were doing. It's intentional, it's guilty mind. You're not above the law. Are you fucking joking? I don't think so, honey. I don't think so. I don't care how many fucking covens of corruption you have surrounding you. I've shown you their faces. Oh, they all got fucking faces and they all got names. They all got residential addresses. These witches who were trying to murder me yet again. Did it work out for you? How did it work out for you? Did it work? Listen, fuck faces, you started this fucking war with me. You fucking started this war with me. This is a civil fucking war. Oh, yes, it is. You know, in war, some motherfucker dies, right? Do you understand that? David Eby? Reprobate. Okay, so I've had to inform them that the property is held as an allodial title. Now, do you understand why I'm saying that? Because I'm going to explain to you why I'm saying that, because I can explain everything. That's what I do. That's what counsel does. Counsel explains what's happening. I identify as special counsel. I identify as special prosecutor. And I'm coming after every single motherfucker guilty of fraud on the court to commit genocide against my son and I. And then I'm coming after every single one of you motherfuckers who have now committed this second act of genocide by way of fraud on the court to steal interest private property. So fucking CIBC bankers could steal $100,000 and they're not owed. That's what's happening here in Canada. So anyway, there's like huge fallout from these crimes committed against me. Huge fallout. Faxes went to a number of sewer rats pretending to be public servants here in BC. What day was that? Oh, July the 18th. But then July the 23rd, I have gone and I have faxed the criminal David Eby. David Eby, you're a criminal. Like, there's no doubt about it. You're unfit for public service. You're absolutely incompetent, right? The useless are, well, sorry, the wicked are useless. It's prophecy. You can't get around it. You've proven to me that you're useless. I sent you a registered mail package, David, that fraud on the court was taking place, which means you as Attorney General at that time, David, you had to step in and stop it. But you didn't. So now you're guilty of genocide, just like the other fucking members of the Communist Coven acting as Canada's kangaroo courts of lies and liars. You have nothing to be proud of, David Eby. Nothing. You're a farce. You're a fraud. You clearly hate my people. You're clearly a racist. You clearly hate the peculiar people. That's why you would refuse to respond, while your BARF member buddies are committing another act of genocide against myself and my family, because of your hatred for the living. Yeah, you see, David, the wicked are predators, and they prey upon the righteous. I'm a righteous woman. I've been emailing you for years, David, and every single time I email you, what do? You stonewall me, which is no different than you smashing me in the face with a baseball bat, David. Is that the kind of respect you show to women who are victims of genocide in Canada? Really, David? By the way, if you're not outraged, it's because you're not paying attention. And let me inform you that I'm not one of the lukewarm. No. I'm not one of the lukewarm. So a fax went out. I'll read it to you. So this fax went out on July the 23rd, and I got the okay every time it went through as a fax. So I faxed David Eby, who pretends to be the Premier of British Columbia. Nikki Sharma. That one there is pretending to be the Attorney General of BC, or one of them. You know, you got a whole coven of idiots pretending to be that group. You got Peter Juk, another absolute incompetent. Mike Farnworth. Big Mike. What you up to, Big Mike? You're certainly not protecting victims of crime, are ya? Oh, Greer Jacks, that's a BARF member. Mark Rice of Oceanside Real Estate. Scotiabank manager Jackie Seabloom, and persons acting as Police Complaints Commission. Now, the reason why I had to fax that group of public servants is because the Saanich Police Department criminals have informed me that they're going to murder me if I do my job as peace officer and take possession of the stolen property. They've, well, it turned into criminal harassment, it turned into uttering threats, it turned into intimidation, it turned into assault. And I have recorded most of those hate crimes, not all of them, most of them. Unfortunately, not all of them took. But I'm not a liar. I have no reason to lie. Why would I do that? Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm putting my life on the line to tell the truth. I'm putting my life on the line to work law and justice for myself and my family, because not one of the witches called it the Barf in BC is going to do a fucking thing about what's been done to me. That's why they do what they do here. Yes. So Police Complaints Commission had to be faxed because well, Dean Duthie is a fraud and he's refusing to serve me. So at the end of November 2021, I went to Central Police Department and I'm like, yeah, I've got some trespassers on my property because the property's been stolen. So not only am I not heard, but then the two freaks that I've just spoken to, who don't invite me inside, who don't make me feel welcome, who don't make me feel safe at fucking all, right? Not only do they not fucking hear me, they don't know what they're talking about, and then they fucking start to assault me. One of the little shits, and you know who you are. Hey, Mike? Big Mike, Mike Duquette, you looked at me eye to eye. I'm under 5'4". You looked at me eye to eye. Just to give you an idea, to let you have a picture in your mind of what I deal with. By the way, that assault was recorded and it is posted on social media. So then Mike Duquette decides to inform me that those aren't trespassers, they're fucking tenants. Well, no, you're not going to turn around and lie to me about what's happening. I'm an expert on what's happening. And you're not, are you? And the first member of the swineherd that I spoke to, Jeff Bevington, is giving me unlawful counsel. Yeah, it informs me that I have to go back into the whorehouse and get myself a court order. No, actually, I don't. No, they don't have any jurisdiction. They've lost all jurisdiction, okay? When you're committing acts of genocide against one woman continually because you're fucking criminals, you don't have any jurisdiction. None. You've lost jurisdiction. All the jurisdiction. You couldn't do a fucking thing to me now. Nothing. Right? I'm the victim of the crime. You're the criminals. Criminals don't have jurisdiction. Criminals don't have fucking standing. I mean, get the fuck out of here. So they're trying to give me fucking, like, they're just... This is what they do, right? Satanic ritual abuse. That's what children of the devil do to victims of crime here in Canada. If you're a victim of crime in Canada, you're pretty much fucked. Because none of the pigs care, none of the attorney generals care, none of the savages acting as the court care, and the community doesn't care. That's a problem. If you're one of the righteous. Because that should fucking send you into orbit. That should fucking send you into a fucking rage spiral. Is what it should do. Right? Because if this is happening to one innocent individual, then it can happen to any of us. And that's not cool. It's a 2-page fax I sent out, right? And I just listed who it got sent out to. So then, RICO CIBC petition, BC Supreme Court file number 184508 is an act of fraud on the court. Because it is. Because it is. I'm an expert in law and justice, okay? I've had to become an expert in law and justice, and I don't go and talk to any members of the BARF. Because I have never heard one of them say an intelligent word in my entire fucking 5 decades of being here. I have never heard an intelligent fucking word coming out of the mouth of a BARF member, ever. Ever. I mean, we're just fucking talking a level of fucking stupidity that is a danger, not only to themselves, but to everyone around them. I, woman trained special private prosecutor, known as, it's an assumed name, is it not? My name. Victim of genocide identifies an expert in law and justice for my hated peculiar people. Be aware, I, a woman, hold inalienable right of self-determination. Spring 2023, by public servant tacit agreement, fraud on the court, CIBC petition, which I just mentioned, was lawfully quashed. And it was. So this contract, which they can't respond to because they know what I'm talking about, but they're going to play stupid, right? They're going to pretend like they don't know, that they can't deal with anything other than fictions in the court. The court was created by the dead for the benefit of the dead. The courts here in Canada are not designed to handle matters of the living, men and women, of the living peculiar people like my people. They could never handle our cases. They're useless. Then they just lie. They lie about what goes on, right? Right. So all the court orders that they got, they're quashed. Like, empty noise. Null and void. This without prejudice and without recourse contract and status correction is located at this address, of which I included an address where they would find this document, right? In the culture of the peculiar people, because, I'm addressing the criminals who are sitting there doing nothing about what's happening to me. The guilty are never acquitted. You understand that, don't you? You understand what global warming is really all about? Every time a guilty motherfucker is acquitted or not held accountable, that causes global warming. Every single time. Process follows the common law. You understand that? Because poisonous parasites have created these processes of go around on a hamster wheel that gets you nowhere. And they do that on purpose. They do it on purpose because they want you to give up. They want you to give up fighting for justice here in Canada because Canadians could fucking care less about justice, right? Canadians are just fucking blind and deaf, just fucking useless motherfuckers, most of them. I, woman, am not subject to the way of the blind leading the blind heathen and their circular thinking stupidity, continuous excuses, and get nothing of value done because we are evil. That's prophecy. And you got to know your scriptures. You got to know that those scriptures inside and out, because that's the only way you're going to be able to tell who you are dealing with, or even finding out who you are if you might happen to be one of the peculiar people. Right? If you're one of the righteous, you're not going to fit into this world. You're not going to gel with this hell. This world is a level of hell. And then, of course, I have to quote Daniel 12:10, which says, the wicked understand nothing. And they don't. They don't understand anything. And yet that's who's running the show here in the Commonwealth. The wicked, who understand nothing, they're running the show. BC public servant persons, David Eby, Nikki Sharma, Mike Farnworth, and Peter Jook. All members of the BARF, by the way, are required to contact persons acting as BC Sheriff's Service or criminals acting as Saanich Police Department. And they didn't do this. And this was sent July 23rd. To arrest forthwith, guilty of mischief causing danger to my life, trespassers unlawfully occupying my property. These crimes have been proven beyond reasonable doubt and persons responsible identified. Right. Wednesday, the 26th of July, I, a woman, will be walking through my stolen security to assess the civil and criminal harm caused by persons trespassing and those in adverse possession of property obtained by the crime of fraud on the court to facilitate money laundering, BC land title fraud, and mortgage fraud. Serious, serious crimes, by the way. Trespassers are not welcome on the land after Wednesday, July the 26th, past 7 p.m. These criminals will be permitted to remove personal chattel under my supervision only Saturday, July 29th, from 1 to 7. I've changed those hours a little bit today, as criminals saw fit to steal most of my personal chattel so the wicked could get rich off their hate crimes. Greer Jacks, be aware, I, woman, am conducting forensic, civil, and criminal investigations into your civil torts and criminal offenses pertaining to your disrespect and dishonesty. As such, you're required to provide myself with all correspondence unredacted between yourself, Kirsten Martin, Benjamin Howe, and Sandra Dennis forthwith. You're required to identify the witch you spoke to about me, acting as the criminal organ agent, Lawless Society BC, guilty of slandering my perfect righteous character. Be aware you are accountable in your personal capacity for the intentional harm, loss, and injury you have caused myself and my family. Mark Rice of Oceanside Realty. Be aware I, woman, identify a special prosecutor, am conducting forensic, civil, and criminal investigations of your company and agent Kirsten Martin, who has been in possession of the knowledge of fraud on the court to steal in-trust private property from myself since November 2021. You and your agent are required to fully and completely cooperate to avoid an obstruction of justice offense. I require our emails, correspondence unredacted pertaining to this matter, including the report to FINTRAC your agency submitted, as this is a case of money laundering. Therefore, forensic audit must be completed. There will be communications between your agent and Greer Jacks, as well as Benjamin Howe and Sandra Dennis, now my property. Everyone is equal before common law. No one is above the law. Now let me explain something to you. In Canada here, real estate agents have a responsibility, duty, and obligation to report to FINTRAC large money transactions. So Bradley Walker and Jay Yoon, the first two real estate maggots who involved themselves in this act of genocide, who made $15,000 off of fraud on the court petition, had to report to FINTRAC. Those large cash transactions. I can almost guarantee you they didn't. Because what needs to happen is a forensic audit. A forensic financial audit needs to be done on who was involved in obtaining this in-trust private property. Because this property has been obtained to facilitate crime in Canada. And yet isn't it interesting that none of the criminals acting as the government, both federally and provincially, give a flying fuck. So the message to Canadians is, if you're a fucking criminal, fucking it's carte blanche, fucking go for it. Whatever you want to do to whoever you want to do it to, you're fucking above the law, so just go for it. It's full fucking anarchy here in Canada now. Because if you're a criminal in Canada, you have the fucking right to remain silent. You see how fucking sick that is? And by the way, that would be an obstruction of justice offense if that's what you're up to. You see, all these fucking rules these witches have written, it's all double speak. It's the sickest fucking shit you've ever heard in your life. You know, shit written by BARF members. Acts and statutes and codes. Fuck off. Jackie Seablum. June 2022. You became aware when I, woman, met you and explained to you Scotiabank Mortgage, CA 8652-95-2, of how FAM Holdings Inc. is based on fraud, therefore null and void. You continue to collect income unlawfully on this fraudulent charge. No, you can't have two masters, Jackie. You either serve fucking Mammon or you serve the truth, and obviously you, Jackie, serve Mammon, which makes you an enemy of the peculiar people. I, woman, command you, Jackie Seablum, to remove this mortgage from your books forthwith. Well, that's right, because it's a charge based on fraud. So you can't keep collecting fucking income on a mortgage that's based on fraud, because the first two Asians never obtained actual interest in that land, because it was stolen from me by CIBC's fraudulent as fuck petition to the court. And I gotta remain stoic, right? I gotta remain just fucking cool as a cucumber through all these fucking liars and all their fucking lies. Anyway, Benjamin Howe and Sandra Dennis, whom are going to prison as no one is above the law, will not be collecting rent, passive income, August 1st, 2023 or afterward on stolen interest private property. Because that's what it is. They're in possession of property obtained by crime. And anybody else in Canada would go down to the sheriffs here, the persons acting as sheriffs, or to the persons acting as police and be assisted, except for me, because of the hate-filled fucking hell's whores that are acting in these public servant roles. Proof has been provided repeatedly and consistently to you all, yet due to your guilt, you falsely believe you have the right to remain silent. Yeah, see, this is why the peculiar people don't gel with this world, because it's the fucking sickest place you could ever fucking find yourself if you're one of the living. You have identified yourselves as enemies of the peculiar people. You have identified yourselves as being willfully and knowingly guilty of breach of trust by public officers. You have identified yourselves as heathens, proven to be useless. You have identified yourselves as aiding and abetting fraud on the court and worse, systematic racism and protection of guilty Benjamin Howe and Sandra Dennis of 1474 Faircliff Lane, Victoria, BC, along with trespassers unlawfully occupying stolen interest security, 604 Polyanthus Crescent, private property, since June 2003, of myself, woman in irrevocable power of attorney, Victoria Nevins. You are required by law, international covenants, and conventions to acknowledge common law or the rights, interests, priorities, and concerns of my race, the peculiar people, who are hated by the world and those of the world, persons who act as province of British Columbia and or Canada with continuous fraud, discrimination, and incitement of genocide towards my peculiar people, refuse to treat or serve my targeted people, whom are prey for you poisonous predators. That was in brackets. The righteous remnant equally, right? Because everyone's supposed to be equal before the law. Those are the fucking BARF member rules. Notice. Failure to perform as directed must result in the private prosecution and civil filings in BC Small Claims Court against involved named guilty BC public servants, bankers, police, and everyone else involved. Do you, the blind leading the blind, understand? And then once again, I have supplied the truth in very short addresses that anybody can punch in to a search engine, hit enter, and boom, there's the truth. And I'm very good at what I do. And I don't tell lies. I got eyes that see and I got ears that hear. That's why this world fucking hates me and is constantly coming after me to fucking destroy me and my life. That's why. Listen, I understand the why, okay? I'm all about the why. And I obsess about the why until I figure out the why. Yeah, I've had to figure out who I am using the world's information so I can explain who I am using the language of the world. Because the world ain't understanding me. Nope. I open my mouth and I'm getting looked at like... Yeah, I speak a different language than the world. It's called the truth. And it's the only thing that's going to save you. So this afternoon I went out and I dropped off to 1474 Faircliff Lane the following notification, which I will read out to you now. Buyer beware, Benjamin Howe and Sandra Dennis. I, woman, am filing claim in small claims court as I require a common law venue for $35,000 against each person, including Halfam Holdings. The estate of my spouse is filing claim for $35,000 against each person, including Halfam Holdings, for the intentional, malicious loss, harm, and injury you are causing myself and mine. Woo, you do the math on that real quick. Because this person has the capacity to sue anyone and everyone who causes this person loss, harm, and injury. Yeah. This person was created by a man to protect those he loves. This person was created by a righteous man who always paid his bills and would never, ever leave me uncovered. This person is 2 pages long. Real simple to understand if you have eyes that see and ears that hear. By the way, this is standard operating procedure in every Commonwealth country, right? The government cannot fucking move in and on an inheritance or any fucking court or any fucking covenant of corruption acting as a bank. They cannot move in on an inheritance and just fucking steal everything. But you did it, didn't you? You didn't you? You fucking satanic savages. Compulsive lying pukes. Be aware, all under civil and criminal investigation for aiding and abetting fraud, mischief, causing danger to my life. You're a liar, Greer Jacks. Real estate agent Kirsten Martin and Douglas Street Scotiabank branch manager Jackie C. Bloom have received information and notification via fax of the following notice and demand. You are aware you are trespassing on stolen property obtained by criminals guilty of fraud on the court. Intentional criminal actions to facilitate 2 Asians money laundering, title fraud, and mortgage fraud. Not once, but twice. You have been provided the truth consistently and repeatedly. Right? So when I provide that proof, I have a way to check if it's been read. And they know. Oh, these two, this Benjamin Howe and this Sandra Dennis and all their partners in crime, they're all in possession of knowledge of the truth because I presented it to them, and they all know the legal rules. They all fucking know the legal rules. You persons trespassing hold fraudulent leases, tenancy agreements provided to you by persons who are not above the law. Benjamin Howe and Sandra Dennis, doing business as Halfam Holdings, Inc. You get what's going on here, don't you? The rich are getting richer and the poor are being fucking crushed to death by fucking fraud. 8 o'clock tonight. See, I said 7 o'clock before. Now I've changed it to 8 o'clock. I needed to give them a little time to digest. Wednesday, July 26th, the woman and the power of attorney who controls the stolen interest private property will be seizing all keys to secure the property. There will be a documentation, video, and or photos taken of the contents of the house at that time to determine what of my stolen personal chattel is being unlawfully utilized by criminals in adverse possession of property obtained by fraud on the court. Benjamin Howe and Sandra Dennis. Okay, so when fraud on the court takes place, every action after that fraud on the court takes place is fraud. And fraud vitiates all contracts. It wipes them out. Like they don't exist. So the land title that Benjamin Howe and Sandra Dennis have on my stolen property is null and void. Carlos McDonald. Maggot. And their mortgage is null and void because it's based on fraud. Unless I'm in possession of the entire inheritance, yeah, I'm taking the property back, thanks. Yeah. And you fucking BARF members aren't getting involved in my life. You can go fuck yourselves, you fucking pukes. Compulsive lying fucking Walking Dead hell's whores. You're hell's whores, that's what you are. That's why you get called at the BARF. You're murderers, thieves, and destroyers. That's what you are. You fucking acquit the guilty all day, every day because you are the guilty. I'm so glad that you don't believe in hell. You're not gonna believe what happens to you when you get there. Fucking joke's gonna be on you, pukes. So Saturday, the 29th of July from 1 to 6. See, I changed the hours. I added an hour tonight and I reduced an hour on Saturday. You trespassing cannot be trusted, therefore you will be permitted only under supervision to remove your property. You have no access to my stolen property past 8 p.m. tonight. As you have provided proof beyond reasonable doubt of your guilt of mischief causing danger to my life, be aware the only thing between you arrogant, cursed criminals and prison is paperwork. Yeah, it's really that simple. I'm not subject to the way of the heathen, okay? I'm not subject to the way of the heathen. I mean, the fucking shit that goes on in here when these criminals are when any victim of crime tries to hold a victim to account, it is a full-on fucking shit show. You know, because criminals have rights in communist Canada. No, actually, you don't. You don't. You're fucking sick in the head. For fuck's sake, you're fucking meatheads, eh? You're all fucking dead from the neck up. You're children of the devil. This is a peaceful process. I command you, beast, to show respect as well as cooperate, as I am a widow who has had enough of your lawlessness, greed, and disrespect. In my righteous culture, of which I will be enjoying, you criminals have no right to remain silent. I, woman, require the legal names of all persons trespassing and right to hold you civilly and criminally accountable, as explained above. You will not play victim to circumstances you created for your ignorant, playing stupid selves. Because that's what they're doing now. They're playing fucking stupid like they don't know what's going on. They don't know what's happening. Fuck, I mean, how many times can I fucking shove the truth down your fucking throat so hard and so fast you should be fucking choking on it by now? And how fucking embarrassing for you that the BC NDP are a front for fucking communist criminals. Hey? You know who was in fucking power when the first act of fraud on the court, when the first act of genocide took place? A coven of criminals acting as the BC liberals. And now the second act of genocide, guess who's sitting? Guess who's sitting in this fictional fucking seat of power now? in the private for-profit province of British Columbia. Well, you've got the other wing, right? You've got the other wing. Come on, you guys, this is the age of information. Nobody should be in the dark about what's going on. Nobody should be in the dark about what's going on. This is the age of information, prophesied by Daniel. At the end of the age, there will be an increase in knowledge. Yes, scripture is my native language. That's how I stay alive. That's how I stay steady. That's how I can determine who it is that's coming for me yet again. Paperwork, that's all this is. It's just paperwork. Person time is just me doing some paperwork for you criminals. Me holding you fucking civilly responsible. Just some paperwork. Right? There's a whole different set of rules for the here people when we access your fucking whorehouses you're trying to pass off at courthouses, and I do have the right to enjoy my culture here, and you have to respect my culture. And you can't do a fucking thing about how I choose to identify. So if I identify as your prosecutor, you better fucking believe I am your prosecutor, and you have no right to remain silent. And you are not allowed to cross out any information on all these emails that are going back and forth between you witches and your covens of corruption. So who do you serve? Who do you serve? Do you serve the truth or do you serve the lie? Do you serve life or do you serve death? Because there's only two choices to make in life. You're either of the truth or you're of the lie. You're either going to the kingdom of heaven or you're going to find yourself in hell. I get real tired of having to talk to the blind and the deaf, and that's who I'm addressing. That's who got faxes this week. The blind and the deaf got faxes this week. Communist criminals got faxes this week. And you know what they're going to do about those faxes? They're going to do what they've done before to me. They're going to stonewall me, which is an act of violence where I come from. Stonewalling is a hate crime where I come from. And look at this, my partner created a whole person that I can use to come after each and every one of you witches. Daniel Carroll, witch. Lindsay LeBlanc, witch. David Eby, witch. Melissa Gillespie, witch. Useless, clueless, guilty of breach of trust by public officer. You can't be trusted because you're criminals. You have no honor. You're going to remove honorable from before your fucking cursed names because you're not honorable. There's no honor among thieves. There's no honor amongst murderers, thieves, and destroyers. There's no honor amongst covens of communist corruption. Canada's communist. Did you know that? Here's just something else I've been noticing. Now, I send out a lot of information because as tired as I am, and I am exhausted, I can barely function most of the time, I still do an awful lot of work. I still do an awful lot of work, despite the fact that I can barely function. And so what I'm noticing is I'm noticing my information. Others are utilizing my information. Now, they're not giving me
recognition.
Well, they're not saying where they're getting the information from, but I know where my information is and where it's being utilized, right? Because I'm paying attention. I'm paying attention all of the time. I'm watching all of the time. I'm watching, like head on a swivel, like what's going on, because I'm a witness down here of the wickedness of my generation. Go into my Instagram posts. I am constantly proving who I am. Constantly proving it. I have proof of who I am. I have proof that I'm not from this world. I have proof that I'm hated by this world. I have proof that I've got literally thousands of public servants acting as federal and provincial persons who are actively seeking to murder me because I know what they do and I know who they are. So they had no case. When they came and they kidnapped my 5-year-old, they had no case on me. None. They had nothing. Nothing. All forced adoptions are a fraud on the court. All of them are. Anyway, I'm tired of this. Hopefully this one takes. Because the one I did this afternoon would not upload. And it was very upsetting because it was proof of me at my stolen property, dropping off, taping notifications to the door, the one that I just read. Okay. So I should probably mention that as an INFJ personality, that personality type has a brain that works, like both sides work at the same time, which is, again, not normal. So my brain is working way faster than my mouth can get out the information because I hold so much knowledge and understanding and wisdom in my mind. So as I watched that as well, because I'm recording this to upload as an update, what I meant to say was when I went to Saanich Police Department and I spoke to Jeff Bevington and Mike Duquette, I explained to Mike Duquette that there were trespassers on the property because it's stolen property. And then he informed me that no, those weren't trespassers, they were tenants. And I'd flipped that around in my live. I also was going to explain why the property is not subject to property tax. So first and foremost, I need you to know and understand that all taxation is voluntary, not mandatory. So income tax, property tax, it's all voluntary. Now, in my situation, you can't tax a gift. Gifts are not taxable in Canada. So that land has been granted, right? Standard operating procedure, a directive provided by my spouse. The land has been granted, right? It's a gift, and gifts aren't taxable. So that's why the property is allodial title and not fee simple. And then later on in the live, again, I was speaking so quickly, trying to get so much information out. Because I don't mean for these to be hours long. Please understand that. I don't really know where the time goes. It just sort of, I don't know, I'm just providing my testimony. Hoping that it helps somebody, really. Honestly, that's why I do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be doing this at all. But anyway, later I was talking about victims of crime and how, if you're the victim of the crime, good luck holding the criminal to account because they don't allow that in Canada. They really don't. That's why it's fucking, it's a criminal's playground here in Canada. So that's where we're at so far. Again, right? At the end of every month, we seem to go through the same thing. Right? And I'm just so incredibly exhausted. I'm so incredibly tired. I'm completely overwhelmed. Right? And injustice is a poison to the victim. So all of this, as I have explained a couple times earlier this year, when somebody was calling me here, trying to demand that I file a probate, that's not ever going to be filed because it's not required for this matter. The other thing is, how the fuck am I going to file probate? Everything's been stolen. There's nothing to list on the probate. Everything's gone. They stole it all. So I can't. And yet that's the excuse that they've used to continue to embezzle the $680,000, and CIBC helped themselves to $100,000 of that $680,000, and then the BC NDP persons just swallowed the rest. And they could care less if I live or die. They could care less if this ever gets sorted out. They could care less if there's fraudulent mortgages and land titles on that land. They could care less. I mean, look at the message that they're sending me. What's the message they're sending me? Can you imagine going to that length and that level to make one woman feel completely unwelcome? That's pretty sick.